Hello, everyone. Whitney Emanuela here with your live for the day. I'm going to wait just a couple minutes for people to hop on. And once I get just a few viewers, I'll get started. Happy Friday. I hope you're doing awesome today. I have my cold press here. These were a housewarming gift, actually, from my dear friend Sanoon. Cute, huh? So anyway, welcome. I see I've got one person viewing so far. What we'll be discussing today is what a financial planner actually does. It's a question that I get a lot of. I think people have a lot of misunderstanding as to what financial planners do. Hey, Pam. Pam's a client of mine. She's great. She's on Facebook here with us today. So welcome, Pam. So I'm on Facebook and YouTube live today. And so you can hop on and join me either for the whole time or just a part of it. But again, today we'll be discussing what does a financial planner, myself, actually do. Recognizing that there are some nuances and everybody has a little bit of a different process. The general concept is the same. So why don't we get started? So again, I get this question a lot. Oh, and then one thing too, if you hop on today during the live and you're not watching the recorded session, say hello and say you're here so I know that you're here and I can say hello. Hi, Sarah. Okay, I've got Sarah and Pam who are joining me live. Welcome. Happy Friday. All right, so what we're going to be discussing, as I had mentioned, is what a financial planner actually does. So that is me, financial planner. What is it that I do for my clients? What are the services that I provide? And what does that look like? So there are three key things that a financial planner does. And also remember that if you have questions as I'm speaking, just let me know. And then I can go ahead and address those questions. So what we're going to be discussing, so what a financial planner does. One, education on their own situation. So educating you on how on track you are for retirement or for whatever savings or financial goals you have. Two, accountability. So not only is it educating you on what's going on in your situation or just financial concepts that apply to you, tax changes that apply to you, market changes that apply to you in your situation. It's all about being customized to you. So it's not just cookie cutter information, it's information that's customized to you. So that's the education part. Accountability. So let's say I make some recommendations about how you should improve your financial situation. I hold you accountable to those by coaching you throughout the process. Similar to going to the gym versus hiring a financial planner. So if you hire a financial planner or you hire a personal trainer, that person's holding you accountable to your training goals rather than you doing it on your own. So that's really a good way to understand the accountability part. And then activation is also important. So encouraging people, empowering them that they can do these things. And I believe that knowledge is power, especially when it comes to money and financial habits. And hello, who just joined in. Feel free to say hello. Hi, Miss Anahita. So what I was just discussing was one, what does a financial planner do? I had said they educate, they provide accountability, and then they also activate their clients. And this is something that's really important to me, that activation piece, because I don't just want to educate you and then leave you on your own. I also want to make sure that you're taking action with the things that I give you, because otherwise, what's the point if you're learning about something but you don't actually ever do anything about it? And I'm a very action-oriented person. If you've ever taken StrengthsFinder, Activator is one of my top 5 strengths, so it's no surprise. So how do we do these things? How do I educate? How do I provide accountability? And then how do I activate? So one, we start with a client, even in our first meeting, we've never met before. What I'm trying to understand is their vision for their lives. So visualize. So vision, it starts with vision. There's a verse that says, without vision, the people perish. Very true with your financial vision and with your life. And so visualizing, when do you want to retire? What does that look like for you? What's your income need going to be? Looking forward into the future. visualizing what that looks like, or visualizing how you'll feel if you feel different day to day. If you want to get out of a financial situation that you're in, how do you get out of it and how will you feel? Visualizing that as well. Then we've got strategize. So you got the vision, then we need to come up with a strategy for that vision. And that's where I provide investment recommendations, savings recommendations, budgeting, debt management, college saving strategies, if that's a goal. So the strategy step number 2 in the planning process, is really important. Another reason it's so important is because we're going to talk and collaborate during these strategy sessions. It's not just one-sided, me telling you what to do. It's us collaborating. What do you feel like is realistic for you to do? Do you want to do that? Do you feel like you're actually realistically going to take action on this? And if not, then it shouldn't be a part of the strategy. So does it align with you and your values and your vision? Lastly, and probably the most important step, is to implement on the vision and strategy that we've come up with together. There's a saying that I love. It says, vision without implementation is hallucination. So we could have a vision, but it's really just a dream or a pie in the sky if you don't have an actual plan to implement it. And so that implementation part is one of the reasons that people work with financial planners. One of the most compelling reasons that people work with a financial planner is so that you actually do the things that you say are important to you. And that's why I tell my clients or prospective clients, my job is to help your money behavior actually be in alignment with your values. You say this is important to you, but are you doing something about it? And so we want to bring that into alignment so that you have more peace in your life, in your mind, and in your heart. You don't want your money keeping you up at night. If you have a plan surrounding it, it can bring you a lot of peace. Of course, understanding that things will come up, that's okay, but it's a matter of having a plan and then having a flexible plan. And that's another thing, is that a financial planner should be modifying your plan as life happens. As an example, I have a client who worked with her. She is a CEO, and something happened with her company where it's a family-owned company. Someone in her family passed away, and it creates a lot of complications. So now we are going to course correct, change some things in order to make sure that the plan still makes sense for her in her situation. So again, steps: visualize, strategize, implement. 3 very important steps that you have with a financial planner. So I received this question a lot. Like I said, what do you actually do? So I'd like to address things that I do not do. I do not file taxes. That's a CPA. I'm a CFP, which is a certified financial planner. A CPA is a certified public accountant. I do not do accounting. I do not do taxes. I can give tax strategy, but I don't file anybody's taxes, and I can't give specific tax advice. I collaborate with your accountant to make sure you're doing the right things from a tax standpoint. I do not create estate documents. That's an attorney's job. I cannot provide legal advice because I'm not a licensed attorney. However, I can discuss different types of estate plans that could work for you in your situation. Whether it's a will, everybody should have a will, and that's a piece where I provide accountability to make sure that those things are done. But then maybe more advanced estate planning could make sense, and I can provide the pros and cons of each strategy. But like I said, I can't actually draft the documents for you. Debt consolidation, I do not do that. Debt, I can provide people a get out of debt plan. We do a spreadsheet, and I've had clients who do that. And that helps them. I've seen people literally get out of debt based off of the work that we've done together. But if you wanted to do any type of debt consolidation plan, that's not something that I do. Sarah asks, what's the difference between a financial advisor and a financial planner? So there's a spectrum of professionals that provide financial advice. So start at like the lowest, I don't want to say lowest tier, but the most basic licensing all the way up to the most advanced. So we've got people who call themselves financial services professionals. You may see that. They can't call themselves a financial advisor. Those people usually have some type of investment license, but they can't trade individual stocks or exchange traded funds, and they're limited, and they can't trade individual bonds. So they can provide some investment advice and insurance advice, but they can't provide more advanced planning, and they also cannot charge for their advice. They can't provide an actual financial planning for service fee. So that's one, financial services professional. Then we step up to financial advisor. The financial advisor has a Series 7, which is the next level of licensing, and that allows them to sell and buy bonds, stocks, and they can charge a fee for planning, although a lot of them don't necessarily do that, but they do charge for their portfolio management more often than not. So if someone has a portfolio with them, then they charge 1% for $100,000. That's $1,000 that they're paid for the portfolio management for that year. I am a financial advisor because I have the licenses for that. But then there's the next level, which is for financial planning, or a CFP, which is a license that I have, or a certification, that's Certified Financial Planner. That is the only certification that allows you to be able to call a financial planner, a certified financial planner. And what is involved in that, you've got your Series 7 for financial advisors, but for this certified financial planner, you have to take 8 courses in order to license and certify you in advanced financial planning. It really has to do with holistic financial planning. It involves insurance and insurance planning, investment managing. It also involves tax strategies. It looks at estate strategies. So all of those really more in-depth, comprehensive advice pieces are what a financial planner does, that a financial advisor is a little bit more limited in. CFPs almost always charge for advice, but not always. I do charge for advice. I kind of provide a two-pronged. Again, now this is where it gets nuanced. Every financial planner and financial advisor is different in how they run their practice. So I really provide 2 levels or 2-pronged services. One is the fee for advice. We set up a plan, you pay me for my advice, and that's an annual service. And all you're getting is just unbiased, customized plan for you. Then there's investment management, which doesn't necessarily involve all of that customized financial plan and for you, but it provides customized portfolio management. So we put together a portfolio for you, and that's a percentage of the portfolio. So those are like the 2 ways that I provide services mainly. And I do provide, not every financial planner or advisor does this, but I do provide insurance services and such if needed. But that's when it fits into the financial plan for clients. So I hope that answers your question. Financial planner, more advanced, covers all of these levels of planning that a financial advisor may be a little bit more limited in. Lastly, there's also something that's called a CFA, Certified Financial Analyst. This person is super smart, and they may not necessarily be they may not provide financial services and advice like I do. Some of them do, some of them don't. They're really analytical into the investment management. They know a lot more about investment management than I do. But oftentimes those are the people that portfolios hire to manage their funds, and then I use them for their advice because I'm more client facing. I will customize a client solution for them, but I also leverage strengths of portfolio managers to use for clients. So I don't just do portfolio management all day. A lot of it is customizing a financial plan for people that make sense. So my process, I think that would be a good thing to discuss, is what's this process of visualize, strategize, and implement. So 1, visualize. I actually really like to do a values deep dive where I better understand what someone's core values are, what's their why, what makes them tick. Because remember, it's not about money, it's about what money can do for you. And I work with a lot of CEOs who don't have the time to manage their money on their own. They're intelligent, they're driven, but they don't have the time to manage their money on their own, and they don't have the time to create a whole plan. So they leverage me for my advice, and they leverage me for my experience. Oftentimes they're purpose and mission driven, and I love that because they're going to say, Whitney, I want to retire and I want to volunteer one day, but I don't know how to get there financially. So then we come up with a plan so that they can do that and do it well and do it on their terms. not based off of just what the market return is. So that's something that really is important. It's giving them control when it comes to their financial plan, but controlling the why, right? What is this for? It's for your values. It's supporting you. It's supporting your family. It's supporting your goal of helping others. It's supporting your goal of supporting your family, whatever that is. So values and goal deep dive is the first thing that we do. Then we do a financial analysis, kind of where do we stand, or where do I stand? So people provide me all of their financial documents, all of their financial information, and then I analyze it. Let's say someone says, Whitney, based off of the prior conversation, the goals, they said that they wanted to retire in 10 years. And, excuse me, so what happens is that they tell me they want to retire in 10 years. But let's say that they have this portfolio that they plan to live off of in retirement when they retire. But let's say they're not going to have enough to support their lifestyle. So I show them, here's where the gap is. Here's where you stand today. And then also, here are some of the things that you could do to close that gap, whether it's retire later, save more, incorporate some tax-free investments so you have less of a tax drag on your portfolio. Here are some ways to diversify your investments. Let's say someone's overweight in one single category of investments. Let's say they've got a lot in large established companies, but they don't have enough in small sized companies. So then they're losing out on some really valuable growth there. So that's something that I would also do in that financial analysis. Strategy sessions. So this is where it gets really more meaty times, because we're doing those collaborative sessions where we look at next steps to close the gap in your plan. So let's say, they say, Whitney, we believe based off of the budget meetings that we've had, we can save an additional $6,000 in a year. So then I'll tell them specifically where to put that money that they can commit towards retirement or commit towards their children's college or whatever the goal that is that they said is most important to them. And then we also have to do some give and take, right? Well, maybe you can't accomplish all of the goals. So how do you determine which is most important? Or maybe they're more than on track. They're above being on track. So then we look at questions like, well, are you charitably inclined? Would you like to donate a portion of your funds when you pass away? And what do you want your legacy to be? These are all those types of questions, and coming up with specific strategies and steps in order to do what you want to do with your life on your terms. That's what those strategy sessions are building, that strategy. Once we come up with those strategies, then I provide your final recommendations to you. And that's where based off of all of the information that we've had, that we've reviewed, your goals and your values, the financial analysis and the strategy, here are the final recommendations that we thought would make sense for you and that are realistic, actionable, and that they have a timeline on them. I give them these recommendations and they say, sounds good. They can either implement, the next step is implementation. They can implement this with me or with someone else or on their own or a combination of all of that. So it's a team approach. This is where the plan actually goes into action. It's not just a plan on paper, it's an action plan. So at this point, this is where they would set up investment accounts. Maybe it's per timeline, they have to do this investment account within the next 3 months and fund it before they file their taxes. Or maybe they should invest in a Roth IRA because they're going to have tax-free money. Or maybe they should set up a 401k for themselves. So things like that, set up investment accounts. Or maybe I do it, or like I said, a combination. Then they fund the investment accounts. Another thing is that maybe they have to make changes in their portfolio because something's off kilter. And maybe they have too much money in one single stock because they inherited it, just as an example. Well, then I give them specific steps on how to do that. Specific action steps are very important when it comes to implementation of a plan. And funding investment accounts, making changes, those are all involved in those final recommendations and follow-up implementation that I make sure that they do. That's a big part of why they hire me. Give them the plan and then make sure they actually take action on it. Getting insurance in place, so that involves life, health insurance, disability insurance, long-term care insurance, home and auto, renters. And I can help with some of these, not all of them. And so there are recommendations that I make for someone to either meet with a home and auto rep, meet with your accountant, meet with your attorney, meet with the bank, meet with, you have your own personal debt payoff follow-ups, you have your own personal budgeting follow-ups. So these are things that they have to do that I can't necessarily do for them, but we do have fairly consistent check-ins after the fact to make sure that they're doing the things that they said are important to them. Again, aligning the values with the actual behavior that they're trying to change. So a lot of it is coaching, and then also professional expertise on money that you don't necessarily have access to on your own if you haven't taken the time to get all of those licenses and have all the experience. And so I have a job because people just don't have the time to get all of this under the belt on their own. And so that's why people hire me, in order to take it off of their plate and to delegate, so that they don't have to feel out of control. They don't have to lose sleep at night. They don't have to wonder, am I on track or not? So there's a big value there with hiring a financial planner. You do have to be ready to make changes. You have to be coachable. You have to want to make changes. You have to want to be able to do things that actually may be uncomfortable or new, but again, activating change and activating and empowering people is one of my passions. So it seems to be a good profession for me. So I hope that helps people understand, what someone really does. And when they hire them for financial planning, keep in mind, my process may be a little bit different than another financial planner's process. And so if you are searching, make sure to interview one or two, compare what they do, compare their fee structure, and determine what you feel most comfortable with. So that would be my recommendation. But if you feel like you're ready to actually hire a financial planner, give me a call or, send me a message, and I'm happy to discuss that with you. The nice thing is that, the first meeting is complimentary. Pam asks, what has been your biggest challenge so far? My biggest challenge being a financial planner? That's a great question. Sometimes people don't like change. Change is one of my core values, but it's not everybody's core value. And so it's discouraging sometimes to say, hey, give people all the reasons why to make a change, give them action steps, and they still don't make the change. So like, they've paid me and they don't take the advice. That is probably the most discouraging part of my practice. It doesn't happen as frequently as it used to, just because I'm really niching down on who my ideal client is. But I would say that's probably been one of the bigger challenges, I would say, and really coaching people into action, yet they still don't take action for whatever reason. I'm not even necessarily blaming it on them. They may have some bad experience about change, and then they are afraid of failure. But that's the whole point of hiring someone like me, is to make sure that you're taking calculated change that makes sense for your situation. But I would say that would be my biggest challenge. And client-facing relationships. Someone hiring me to tell them what to do, and then they don't do it. Kind of seems like a waste of money. Sarah says, who is your ideal client? So my ideal client are courageous CEOs and executives, people who want to, they're action driven. They're usually type A. They're mission driven. Often even a lot of female CEOs are just awesome to work with, because they recognize too the value of advice, the value of not doing on their own. They really are good at delegating, and so they're good at delegating their financial things to me. And so I work with a lot of female CEOs with their husbands too, and that's always good, because then we're a unified front, rather than just having one person make one decision and the other. I love bringing couples together to have alignment in their financial behavior and decisions. Tanya says, the one thing I love working with Whitney is that there is no judgment, just encouragement, strong advice, accountability, and action steps. Thank you, Tanya. I love working with you. I love it when people come with joy, even though because there's a lot of self-judgment with money, and there's a lot of shame. This is something I talk about a lot, but there's no need for it. Everybody has money baggage. It's a matter of removing the baggage out of the way so that you can actually take a step forward instead of tripping over your own baggage. And that's probably one of the big reasons that a lot of people don't take action. They've got a lot of money baggage. They don't have trust. They maybe don't even trust themselves to make change. And so trying to make people feel comfortable and safe is something that is really important to me in the process. What other questions do any of you have? Covered a decent amount of information. Since it's just me today, I didn't necessarily expect to have a long conversation since I don't have a panelist this time, but I thought this would be a really good conversation to have. Just what do you do, Whitney? A lot of people, like I said, ask that question in my network, and it's important to know. So that way you know whether or not you need it. And if you are interviewing financial advisors, I'm happy to be one of those people that you would interview. And I just love what I do, and I love my clients. Family is one of my core values, and I love including all of my clients in my family. So I appreciate all of you. I think that might be it today. I don't see any more questions. I saw people hopping on and off throughout the meeting today or the live today, but I really appreciate each and every one of you. Without you, I wouldn't have my business. Shout out to Sarah Patnode, my marketing lady who puts this together for me and is a rock star. I just think, but I really, again, appreciate all of you. Oh, okay. Tanya, how are you paid? Retainer by the investment funds, something other? Good question. So you know how I said you can get paid into, provide services, financial planning, and then also the investment side. So just as an example, you've got, let's say I have service levels of financial planning that I offer. So there's 2D, 3D, and 4D planning. That's just for purely advice. So you don't actually do anything with me. I just give you advice, and then you determine what you want to do with the advice. So that's $1,500, $3,000, or $5,000 for the year. So that's just for consultative financial planning advice that's customized to you, customized financial planning, depending upon the level of complexity. Then on the other side, we've got the wealth management. And so that's where someone will have their funds with me. And I gave this example earlier in the live. Someone has $100,000 invested with me. I charge 1%. That's $1,000 from their funds that they're paying me to manage. There's no commission on that type of structure. There are some other things that I do. They're very small part of my practice, but if someone needs life insurance, disability insurance, or long-term care, once in a blue moon, I'll offer some alternative investment that there's a different fee structure with that, but that's a case-by-case basis, and that's a much smaller part of my practice, but it is something that I provide. Anything else? I think too, it's hard to know what service makes the most sense for you. So that's why an initial meeting really makes sense. So that way you can I can recommend what I think would make sense for your situation. Because the same plan for one person is going to be totally different for somebody else. And so it's just a matter of customizing the solutions to you. There are a lot of people who like to do the financial planning and not necessarily the wealth management. So that's also an idea, or vice versa. They just want wealth management, but they don't necessarily want the financial plan. So totally customized. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Tanya. I really, again, appreciate all of you. Thank you for joining today. God bless all of you. I pray that you have an abundant and wonderful, sunny, hopefully warmer weekend. And then I will be live again in April. I would love to hear feedback on what you think our next live should entail. One thing that I hadn't thought of is I haven't had Linda be on, who's also my assistant, and my mother, who's amazing. We could do a live about our process together, but any feedback would be great as far as what you would like to hear from us. What are you questioning about financial planning? And we'd love to provide it. All right, everybody, again, blessings, and I will see you all very soon.